Hi guys, welcome to Investing with JYK, and today we'll talk about statistics outside US. Um, I'm going to Japan soonish, and I've always had some interest in Japan, in investing, traveling, and language, stuff like that. So um, I thought about, you know, comparing Japan and China in terms of trying to find out where the how the Chinese consumers might behave, because culturally and even a lot of things between China and Japan are very similar. Right? China might be much bigger, but most of China, like a third of it or more than a third of it, is basically uninhabitable. You got the deserts, you got the plateaus, you got you know places at more than 4,000 meters in altitude. You've got these um, hills that are just extremely hilly. So, most of the Chinese population is concentrated on the coast. Japan is basically coast. So there's always like a lack of land. There's a lack of resources. China slightly better, but not much, even though it's like a pretty big country. Um, the In terms of culture, both culture were very similar until like 1800s, late 1800. Um, and then there's a little bit of divergence, and after the Cultural Revolution, the divergence is slightly bigger. But overall, it's still very similar. Um, so yeah, Japan is probably, I would say, 30, 40 years further advanced in China in terms of uh, their living standards, their per, um, per capita income, and everything. So, looking at Japan, you can more or less um project what the Chinese consumer would do when they get to a similar income. Um, and actually, one more thing, let's do GDP per capita Japan and GDP per capita China. Japan is currently at 34, 38, 39. China is about 8. So um, if you look at Japan around 1980s, right, that's about where China is now. So that is 30, 40 years ago. And so I started looking at the Japanese Statistics Bureau, and I got their um, some data from 2014, which is close enough. 2018, 2014, Japan hasn't grown that much. And then I found a corresponding one in China. So I actually, for your convenience, I found the English equivalent. This thing is crap, by the way. When you search, it's freaking case sensitive. So oh god, it's amazing. And then it has weird underscores in weird places, and it's amazing. But when you search in here, if you ever try to, um, you can go to here, and then you can like search for things. For example, if you search for rural, nothing is found. And if you do rural, oh come on, everything's found. Ta-da! And they have this weird underscore thing. Touch. I don't understand. This is crazy. But anyways, um, okay. So let's do the comparison. And data here is a little small. We can zoom in a bit. This is fridge. This is average per 10,000 households. Right, so it's each 10,000 household has on average 1 point. You know, if you divide by 1,000, so each house has 1.1 fridges. It's washing machine. This is English on the right hand side. I'm just gonna tell you what it is. Washing machine, about 1 to 1, which makes sense. Almost every family wants a washing machine, so you don't have to wash your clothes by hand. This is air conditioner, 2.3 per household, and you can see this is income, right? So this is about 16,000 dollars. Divided by 100 is about almost there. This is 10,000 yen. So this is about 16,000 per year, and then this is about 16 to 2.4, and all the way to 100K plus. You can see as income increases, I mean, for these two, you can see there's not much of a difference. Like, people with more money don't buy a lot more refrigerators. People with more money don't buy a lot more washing machines, which makes sense. Why would I need 2 washing machines? Even I have more money, right? It's pointless. But air conditioners, you clearly see, as the income increases, it goes from 1.5 per household to 3.6 per household. So very interesting. So there's a very clear correlation between number of air conditioners per house, because you get a bigger house, and then you can maybe you have 3 rooms or 4 rooms, right? So on average, 2.3 per household. And this is automobiles. Each household has about 1.1, and this here again a very interesting correlation. But after I would say after a certain amount, they kind of taper off. You can see between those two there isn't much difference. Obviously, when you have a shit ton of money, you kind of have more cars. And on average, each house has 1, and then if you're really poor, you have each house has less than 1. So these are the things I wanted to compare against the Chinese ones. Right, so I have found the Chinese one. Okay. So in China, they're doing per 100. So if you look at refrigerator in rural areas, so this is 3 rural and then it's urban. The Chinese statistics kind of breaks it into rural and urban population. You got 67. So and then the data kind of dies in 2002. I don't know what happened after that, but that's the closest as you get. It probably increased after that. You can see there's a jump here, and this really fast increase started happening in after 2008, but then kind of 2012 slowed down. So I'm guessing still not everybody has refrigerators in rural areas, but it's close enough. And if you look at washing machines, it's a slow but steady increase. If you project that out, they increase by about 5 per year. So that's another 5 years. So maybe 5 years around it, so 25, so 87. So close to saturation. And air conditioners, very low ownership. And also, keep in mind that the air conditioner in the Japanese case, average is 1.6 or something. It was sorry, 2.3. And Japan's, if you look at the map, Japan is at a very similar latitude as China. Actually, even slightly further to the north, right? So Japan is like, people kind of consider Yangtze River as the split between China, like north and south. Um, in China, we literally call it's like um, south to the Yangtze River called south of the river. Uh, so Japan is almost entirely north of the Yangtze River. So it is actually cooler, right? But China is much hotter. So presumably you can think that you actually have more room for even more air conditioners. People want that even more. Right? Now let's go back to this thing. And even if you just compare this against urban households, you can see there's a 5x difference in ownership because rural China is much poorer, much poorer than urban China. And even urban China, it has half the ownership of Japan, and that thing has been increasing about 4. This one is 10. Is it a 6? So maybe like 5-ish per year. So after 5 years, 140. So it's still around half of Japan. So I'm thinking air conditioner is a lot to grow. Still not that many people have every single room air conditioned. And so yeah. And the other thing is washing machine, it's basically saturated. There's no growth. You can't get much from 98 because, you know, people only need one, and logically you only need one. And if you have more clothes, you kind of just run more loads, right? And then cars, for some reason, there's no statistics about the rural population in China, so I can only do that on in urban China. And then you can see even in urban China, the ownership of automobiles really is only increasing about 3 to something. Let's say even say 5 per year, right? You if you project that out, you're looking at around less than 50, and in Japan the average is more than 1. So I'm saying, and Japan is short on land as well. It's very the traffic is not as bad as China because Chinese cities are actually bigger than Japanese cities overall and more crowded, and they generally drive shittier, so the utilization sometimes is worse, but it's arguable. So I'm thinking the car business in China should still have room to grow, quite a bit of room, and air conditioner has quite a bit of room. And then the other thing you want to pay attention is the population. You can see China is clearly urbanizing, and the rural population is declining, and urban population is increasing. And urban population has been greater than rural since 2011. And that trend doesn't seem to stop anytime soon, which kind of makes sense because what are you going to do in a countryside? You don't, you know, nowadays you have machines that do the job for maybe one machine would take the job of 10 farmers, right? So you do want to go to where the jobs are. There's no social problems coming with this, but in any case, so yeah, and as more people get out of the rural population, get into urban, there's more urban households, and then more, and urban households are typically smaller too. So I'm thinking the total ownership of air conditioners or cars would go up a lot. That is just by looking at comparing Japan and China, and then maybe automobiles, you know, in the future with a self-driving car or something like that, that there will be a decline in ownership, but that is 5-10 years away, I think, at least. But air conditioner for sure is going to be still in high demand. Like China is not like the Chinese households don't have as many air conditioner. Even in urban China, you're getting like one air conditioner per household, and each household typically has more than one room. And if you know about not central air conditioning, which is catching up in China, but some people are buying it. The rich ones are buying it. The normal people just have room air conditioners, and you can't use that to cool 2 rooms. So that's what you have. And yeah, so as long as the Chinese GDP per capita hopefully can keep increasing, your obviously it's slowed down a bit. If that keeps increasing, it will the consumption pattern will be very similar to Japanese consumption pattern, at least in a durable household, durable consumer goods part. So yeah, so this is just an observation that I think is interesting. And in terms of stock picks, I might do it at some point, but one interesting one that I hold is Gree. You can buy it through interactive brokers, and you can see this thing is just amazing. Look at this. Think about this as a Whirlpool of China. Actually, better than Whirlpool. It's a very recognized brand, and people have faith in it. I can get into it a little bit more later, but look at the PE, 11, crazy. Yeah, so Gree is something I really like, and I will do a video on that later. But today, that's it, and I'm going to Japan, so maybe I'll make some observations in Japan and share that once I come back in mid-June. But in the meantime, I'm not sure if I'll be able to record videos or post stuff because I will be traveling. Things I'm going to be paying attention in Japan would be inflation. So I will compare the price of just about everything to what I experienced in 2013 or something. And other than that, labor market. Back then, I collected some hiring material, and I'll get some more and compare it against a few years ago, see what the differences are. And I guess that's it. Yeah. Hopefully I can find some interesting investing ideas in Japan. See you next time. I don't know when that will be.